Alright, YouTube, back at it again with another video. So pretty much I haven't filmed in a while because I've been dealing with an alternator issue in this vehicle, trying to get my alternator to charge properly because I am running a high output alternator in this car, and I believe I'm one of the first in America to run a high output alternator on this vehicle. And what's going on is that my alternator would charge at 11.6 and it wouldn't go any higher than that. But the factory alternator used to charge at 14.5, and on a cold start it will charge around 14.9.
Take a look at it. Just look at it.
So pretty much what's going on is that I spoke to Michael Singer, and they don't make a pigtail for my car. What a pigtail does is it's a re-pin out, and it's a plug that goes from your alternator to your factory plug. And what it does, it tricks the alternator into thinking that the car needs more voltage, so that you can charge your car at the voltage which needed. So even after upgrading my grounds and my power, I still wasn't seeing the result that I was looking for. So what I did was I finally changed that ground. I was inside my engine bay that I couldn't find no diagrams or no images of where the ground was for the engine ground for this vehicle, because most engine grounds are usually on the top of this engine. But this one is on the left side of the engine, right next to the headers, in a very tight spot, and it's right next to the motor mount. So pretty much you're going to have your charging post on the left side of the battery. From there, you're going to go down, stick your hand down, make sure the car is nice and cold first before you burn your hand. And when you stick your hand inside there, you can feel like a bolt there. But what I did was I took my phone, turned on the camera, turned on the flashlight, stuck it in there, and you can see what that bolt goes to, because it's a very thin wire that goes to the block of the car onto the frame, and then the frame is like two bolts that hold it together. So I think roughly it could have been maybe 12 gauge on there, maybe at most 10, and I upgraded my ground to 0 gauge. And the best wire you want to use is going to be either from Sky High Audio or Weldon wire. But in my case, I use Sky High Audio because it's extra wire that I had laying around for a job that I did. So make sure you get a heavy duty crimper. Make sure you get heavy duty lug terminals. Don't cheap out with the cheap terminals, because if that break off while you're driving, you're screwed. So what I did was, after I did that, worked out perfectly. So now I idle, my car is charging around 13.1, and then when I step on the gas, it goes up to 14.6, 14.9, which is what I want. My voltmeter has 3 different colors on it, so usually when I'm in the green while I'm driving is where I want to be at, and usually when I idle, I want to be like around orange. But before I was always in the red zone, because this car gets very hungry for voltage, and being that it has that stupid voltage regulator in the back of the trunk that regulates my voltage, the only way you can work your way around that is that you're going to have to upgrade bigger wires to the ground, bigger power wires going to the car, and you're going to have to make sure that your grounds are cleaned off completely, just so that you can get the best connection possible. Another thing that I'm going to be doing later on today, which most likely I'll probably make a separate video on that, is this pressure switch. So pretty much I made this wire right here. This is my brand new pressure switch. Only problem is 1/8. The one that's in there, it's I believe it's 1 1/4. So I'm gonna have to get an adapter to make it fit. But I want to use this one because this one right here, not even sure what brand it is. It's not sure what brand it is, but it's a lot better than the one that's in there. This right here I got from my local air ride store that's around the area, and this was $23. I believe the one I have in there now is a $5 product. And then I taped it up nice and neat so that it looks good. But I don't need it this long. I just made it a little longer so that if I have to cut off, I'll cut off what I need. Makes it a lot easier when putting everything back in. But I gotta go to a Home Depot, get an adapter so that I can make this fit. The reason why I'm switching it, because the old one I believe it only charges my tank to 160, and then once it reaches 120 psi, then it tells the compressor to kick on to charge everything back up. This one stops at 175, and it starts filling at 145. The reason why I'm changing it is because a lot of times when I go to air up my car, sometimes there won't be enough air to air up my car. So what will happen is, as I'm airing up, the car will air up almost all the way, but not there, because it takes a lot of pressure for this car to go up because of how heavy it is. So at least with this brand new switch, once I install it, my car should be able to air up all the way, no problem, without waiting a few minutes to charge up more and then recycling it again so that the car can go up just a little bit more than what I need it to be. So if you got any questions about the Genesis or anything about wiring or what I did to this vehicle so that you can do the same thing in yours, let me know, because I'm pretty much the footprint for Genesis in the United States or whatever people who has these cars around the country. I'm experimenting. I'm using my key and knowledge of all these years that I've been doing audio and wiring for to produce a product that nobody has. I believe I'm the only Genesis in America that has a high output alternator and also with a shorter belt. So if you need to know more about my modifications or what I did to the vehicle, feel free to send me a message and I'll be more than glad to write you back. I'll send you my email. We can talk about pressure switches, relays, air ride, or whatever I did to the vehicle so that it can help you out in the long run. About YouTube, this is it. I'm out of here. But the next video that you're going to see, which is not going to be this video, but the next video, I am going to upgrade this pressure switch, which you're going to see how I do it. And another thing that you're going to see is I'm almost done with my air ride. I'm almost done fixing all the leaks. Like I said, I just switched over to hard lines not too long ago, and it was my first time bending hard line, so it was a little bit of a pain in the ass, so trying to get everything to seal up properly. And now that everything is sealed up properly, I'm getting one small leak, but it's not from the fittings that I just changed. It's from a quick to connect fitting that I had on there since I first started this build, because it's much easier. Instead of running one line that goes to the front all the way to the back, I got to separate it. So once it goes into the vehicle, I have a separate connection, just so that if I do have to swap over the airline, I'm not swapping over the whole thing. I'm only swapping over either the section that begins at the trunk from the manifold or from the bag to where the trunk begins. It makes it a lot more easier for myself. So basically what's happening is that I can air up my car, and then overnight I would wake up, the back would be all the way up, full lock up, but the front would be on the ground. So that's the one thing that I want to fix. So while I'm at Home Depot picking up the reducer, I'm also going to have to pick up some of those new fittings so that everything's good. So once I get those fittings, once I get everything all good to go, another thing that I use a lot is the Permadex blue. You want to use the blue, don't use the red, because the red's permanent, or it's not really permanent. But if you have to take it off, it's going to be a pain. And the only way that you either going to take it off is with heat, or if you have a impact gun. So do yourself a favor, pick up one of these bottles, big one, and a little dab will do you. About YouTube. So next video, watch out for the next video. I'm not sure when I'm going to post it, but these last couple of days are going to be shitty. But once the weather gets a little better, I'll post a video on me changing out the pressure switch, and then that same video I'll show you how I swap out my fittings and all that. And then hopefully I'm going to leave my car up all night, and that should fix my issues. If not, then we're going to have to go a different route. But YouTube, we out.